Okay, so you should be able to see my slides. Let's get rid of this small thing. Perfect. Okay, so hello everyone. Just let me start my timer so I make sure I'm on time. Hello everyone. I'm Razvan. I'm the CEO of and co-founder of RoboSelf. Here's a question for you. Do we need a common language for conversation design and implementation? And I'm not going to try to convince you that we do or we don't. I'm just going to show you how that might look like. And I'll let you judge for yourself. Okay, but let's start at the beginning. About a year ago, actually at this conference at L3-AI 2020, Hans, the CEO and co-founder of Conversation Design Institute, had a great talk about conversation design. And he gave this example of a bot asking how many rooms are in a house and how to handle responses such as, let's see, there's a living room, two bathroom, bedroom, kitchen, bathroom, and so on. And obviously, as a developer, my instant reaction was, well, please answer using a number. And if you give me a bit more thinking time, then I can come up with some smart logic to count those the number of rooms in that response. But from a design perspective, there's actually a much more elegant solution. Sorry, how many rooms is that? And for me, that was like the aha moment when I realized the importance of conversation designers and developers actually working together to create these conversational experiences. However, there's a big gap between design and development today. And after actually developing bots with multiple technologies, including what we do at RoboSelf, and going through conversation design courses by Conversation Design Institute, I've actually come up with my co-founder with a solution that we're very keen to share with you today. And it's called Colang. So what is Colang? Colang is a clean, intuitive, and powerful modeling language for conversational AI. And we're big believers that natural language conversations are best modeled using natural language. So we set out to create a language that reads naturally, that has minimal artificial syntax, and that is extensible. And this is what it looks like. The basic construct is just user says, bot says. So like pretty much obvious, I would say. And then there's support for happy paths when the user says something, and support for the not so happy paths when the user sends something else, which don't want necessarily. And coming back to the example I've shown earlier of how many rooms are in the house, this is how a happy path could look like. So we could, when the user provides us the number, we can even store that in a context variable and use that to influence the flow. And the elegant repair path when the user says something else. So we kind of want to go back and wait again for the response. Now, I'm a big believer that we should let the bots do the talking. So what I'm going to do now, we're going to look together at the conference bot built using Colang. And this is going to be a live demo. So bear with me just in case something breaks. This is the Colang playground. We can use it to learn the language. There's some good resources in here, some tutorials. There's a call to action link, which you can use to get access to the playground. I'm going to also show that again towards the end of the presentation. So without further ado, let's get started. So we're going to start at step one. So here we have the simplest bot possible. So a bot that simply greets the user. This is how we define an intent in Colang. Just define user greeting, a few examples, and then what the bot should say. So just to see this going, we have hi, hello, very simple. Now let's move on to step two. What we want to do here, what we usually do when we start building a bot, we start with a simple FAQ component. So we want the bot to be able to answer certain questions, like in the case of a conference bot, when is the conference, where is the conference, how much does it cost? So, and to get that working, basically we build three flows for the when, the where, and the tickets. This is the user intent. This is the message in that in each of the three cases. And just to see how that works. When is the conference? And then we would get, well, the conference is the June 17th. Where is the conference? So obviously we get the right response. Now let's improve on this a bit. So we're gonna move to step 2.1. As you see, I'm actually going through a sequence of bots I've already built, which each extend on the previous one. So the first thing we're gonna do here is we're gonna start using some contextual data. So this is the conference object, which we're gonna put in the context of the bot with the name of the conference and the date of the conference. And it uses the simple YAML format, which probably some of you are familiar with. Now, we can use that data, for example, directly in the utterance where we say, well, the conference date is, and we have that here, or even in the welcome message, or say, welcome to the conference. So every time you will see the $sign, you know, that it's followed by a context variable, contextual slot, whatever you want to call it. So now if I say hi, then I'm going to see welcome to conference X. And if I say when is the conference, then I'm going to get a response, which is now, as I said, fetched directly from the contextual data. Now, let's improve on this even further, because I want to show you a really powerful feature called contextual responses. So what I mean by that is this. So if we say, when is the conference? We've seen this already a few times. I get, okay, the conference is June 17th, 2021. Now, if I go ahead and say this in a different way, for example, when is the first day? Then I get the first day is June 17th. And then if I go ahead and say, when does the event start? Then I get a different one. The event starts on June 17th. So like, this is really powerful to be able to tailor the response to the question and like really make the user feel understood and that they actually get a response to their question rather than something which is very generic. That's very powerful. To do that, what we have to do in the playground is just like add this small tilde here. We don't have the time to go into the details of how that works, but I can tell you how it's built. It's basically transforming this short response, whatever would be here, could have been something else, into a full response using a generative language model like GPT-3, which probably most of you have heard about. So pretty powerful and can be used also in many other scenarios. Now, let's move further and keep developing our conference bot. What we're going to do next is look at adding registration flow. So let's say we want the bot to actually help users register to the conference, not go through a certain form somewhere. Like let's say they get this chat on the conference website and they start using it. So what we're going to do is add a new flow. And we're going to start this flow with, again, with how much is a ticket, so the intent for the cost. And here, we're not going to care about what we say, because what the bot says is actually defined by the proper flow for the ticketing question. So one powerful thing about Colang is actually that all the flows are executed in parallel. So both the registration flow and the ticketing question will start at the same time. Here, they actually be predicted by the other flow. And then what we want is the flow to continue with this question. So actually, if we go ahead and say hi, and if I say I want a ticket, then we'll say it's free. Do I need to help with the registration? So we see that this has already kicked in. And now, obviously, if I'm going to say yes, then it would start to ask me, OK, what is your name? Let's go quickly through this. Razvan at self.com, and RoboSelf, the company, what's your role, CEO, and then we get a nice confirmation email. So to achieve this behavior, like the happy path, obviously, just what says, and here we call a different flow, which is defined below. So the flow for asking all the details. This is how we can fetch some random text from the user, store it in a context variable, use the same context variable further down the line in various utterances. So pretty simple. Now, it's rarely the case that things go so smooth. So for example, here we've asked the user a question and we were expecting a yes/no answer. Just because before we go into that, we haven't yet defined a yes or no intent here. So what we've done actually, we've used the affirm deny model. And this is actually defined separately. So one thing about the playground is that you can reuse the different bot models. So in this one, I've actually used this one, which already defines the affirm deny intents. Obviously, once I train the model, it actually recognizes a lot more than just these examples. So this is very powerful. So to compose the various models and keep building reusable components. So we've asked the user a question, but what happens if they answer with something else? I want a ticket. Do you need help with the registration? I ask, when is the conference? So, well, the conference is on June 17th, but then I'm kind of, the user is left in the dark. So like there's no next step here, even though behind the scenes, actually the body is still asking, waiting for this response. So if I were to say, well, no, then tell me cool, it was worth asking for. But let's see how we can improve that experience. So in other words, how can we handle these digressions, as they're called in the classical terminology? So we're going to go to 3.1 here, and basically there's a couple of things I did to improve that. Just created the label here. Labels are useful so that we can go back with the flow at a later point in time. And then we've added this nice 3 lines of Colang. So we say when the flow is resuming, then well, ask again the question and then go ahead and wait for the response. So now if I go ahead and say, hi, I want a ticket, and it's registered, do I need to help with the registration? And if I say, when is the conference? No, so like interrupting the flow, then I get the response, and then, okay, so do you need help with the registration? And if I do it, like I still continue to create digressions. So where is the conference? And of course, it's an online conference, so they need help with the registration. So like that's just a powerful way to deal with these digressions and like execute certain custom logic when the flow is resumed. There's many more ways to do that, but we don't have the time to go into all of that. So we're going to move forward now to something even more interesting. So we want our bot now to be smart. We want to know about the conference, to know the speakers of the conference, and to be able to answer questions about that. So I've already included the data here, just shamelessly scraped from the website, and also included just a couple of examples of queries we might want to have. So the query for all the speakers and the query for speakers by company. And just something I want to point out here. So for example, in the intent for querying speakers by company, we're using the company, which is defined as an entity of that company. And that would actually use the various ways we want to talk about a company, in this case, just by name. So that would be replaced by company names when we do the training. Now, in terms of how the flows might look like for queries, again, we define multiple flows for each use case. When the user wants to query all the speakers, we would run an action and store the result into context variable. Again, $sign contextual variables, run action parameters. In this case, it's the type of the object that we're querying. Then we get the results. We can use that to show how many speakers are coming. And we can even output the result of the array of objects here. And the way this would get displayed would be through a template that we define here. So we're just going to have a simple card with the name, the title, the avatar, and so on. So let's see this in action. So if I go ahead and say, who are the speakers? We should actually start to see, well, there are 46 speakers. Not sure if it's the latest data, but we can actually scroll through them nicely. So then I could ask who is coming from Rasa. And I would get a list of 7 people which are here from Rasa. And I could continue to ask, okay, who is coming from Microsoft? And it would tell me, well, looks like only Su Lin is coming. So here you actually see we have different logic for when there's only one speaker. So this is the path that was taken for the last example. And when you have multiple speakers, then you can just tell us the number of people. Now, if you want to improve on that, so what we want to do is, if we want more queries, we would have to create more flows like this, which would not be very convenient because obviously this could get out of hand pretty quickly. So let's see how we can go around that. And there's a package actually. There's a bot model that's already defined, which includes all the querying behavior, and we can use that in a very simple way. So we could just say use query speakers all and use query for speaker and company, and we would get exactly the same behavior, just with a lot less lines of Colang. So if I go again, who are the speakers, then I would get the full list. And then if I go ahead and ask who is coming from NVIDIA, let's vary this a bit. Then we get these guys, and who is coming from RoboSelf, then I would get, again, RoboSelf is represented by one speaker. Now, as humans, we don't really like repeating ourselves like this. So the natural way for asking this would have been actually who is coming from NVIDIA, and then I would say, what about RoboSelf? There's a simple way to add that behavior, and there's actually a component built for that, and I can show you how that works. Again, we have the queries here, and just like with one line, included the what about behavior. So now if I ask, again, who is coming from Rasa, then I would get, okay, there are 7 speakers. And then if I go ahead and say, what about RoboSelf, then I would get, RoboSelf has 1 speaker. And I can even continue further and say things like, and Voxable, for example, which is one of the partners here. So I get the 2 speakers, Lauren and Matt. So this is actually quite nice. So I would kind of say nice. So, okay, actually the bot did not understand this, and this is because I haven't yet included the chit-chat module. So I'm going to do that, well, like very quickly now. So I'm going to type here include chit-chat, which is another module that's already created. It can handle about 18 intents. I'm going to apply the changes. We're all set. So now if I say nice, it should be able to say, I'm glad you think so, which is cool. So we already have the chit-chat behavior. If I say even things like, are you bot? And I would get, okay, indeed I am. I'll be here whenever you need me. So really nice. Okay, let's move further as we're approaching the end of the time. I've already added a few more queries here. So queries for sessions and for different attributes of a session. So like the start time, the end time, and so on. Again, like about 10 examples for each of them. And here, just a few more lines using the same components that we've seen. So if I ask things like, is Alan speaking, for example, they need to tell me Alan is speaking in 1 session. What about Razvan? Then I would get this, okay, really nice, all good. One last thing I want to show you before we still got about 3 minutes left. Let's go to step 5, the last step in our journey today. We want the bot to actually help us with the experience of the conference. So we're going to create a few simple intents for bookmarking certain sessions, for creating some follow-up tasks. So let's kind of see that in action. So let's say, is Lauren speaking? And I would get the response, Lauren is speaking in 1 session, which is about collaboration. So I would say, I want to know more about it. So I would say, what is it about? And the bot to tell me, well, the full description. They actually talk about their processes, tips and tricks, building delightful AI conversational experience. So definitely check out their talk. Now, if I think this is really interesting, I would just say this is interesting. And the bot would then save this session as a favorite session. And then I would say even remind me to follow up with her after the conference. I need to actually keep track of that. And if I say what's on my to-do list, then I would obviously have only 1 task so far to follow up with Lauren. Now, to get this behavior, so you've seen already these 3 intents that we had to define here. And just a couple more flows for creating a bookmark. Basically, we're using the create action here with some simple parameters coming from the context, or the same with creating follow-up tasks. So now we're going to stop here with the demo. This is the playground. There's a lot more to it. There's a lot more to the language. Feel free to head over to sign up and go through these tutorials, read the documentation. And you'll learn about what it's capable, and we're really looking forward to your feedback. So this is the link. We're in private beta, but we've created this special invite code for everyone attending the conference here. You also find that again in the call to action section. And just before I go, a few words about who we are. So me and Traian, we're the founders of RoboSelf, the team behind Colang, and we both have PhD in artificial intelligence and natural language processing. We've been in the startup scene for a while now, and also Traian has been involved in many really interesting research projects. So I guess I'll stop here, and I'm really keen to hear your feedback and answer your questions. Thank you very much.